Hello everybody and welcome to Performance on Wheels. This is our Ford Bronco series. Here on Performance on Wheels we have an entire array of different Ford Bronco videos, from comparing a two-door to a four-door, the underside Sasquatch to non-Sasquatch, the Bronco Rodeo, which is an off-road experience provided by Bronco or Ford when you purchase a new one. Anything you could think of, we have it, is a two-door Bronco practical. Check out the link up in the corner where you can check out our entire playlist of Ford Bronco videos.
We are a father-son team that makes all sorts of videos about cars, trucks, everything we can get our hands on, but continue to join us, like and subscribe on the Bronco journey.
In today's video, we are going to be selling the two-door Ford Bronco. So we've had this vehicle for 6 months, just over 5,000 miles. It's been driven on a long road trip, some very mild off-roading, but mainly city driving. But we are going to be going over our last 5,000 miles of ownership experience on this two-door Ford Bronco.
The Bronco hit the market in 2021 when things were crazy in the automotive industry. Ford came out with all these projection dates of when the Bronco would be released, and ultimately they failed time and time again, weeks on months on months of people wanting a Bronco, of people ordering a Bronco, and those fulfillments not being fulfilled. Ultimately, people waited months, years, even I've heard stories of up to 2 years of people waiting for that original Bronco order that they put in. And today, we unpack the 6 months of ownership on the two-door 2022 V6 Big Bend Ford Bronco. In 2023, where we are at right now making this video, April approximately, the auto market has changed drastically. Even 6 months ago, when we purchased this Bronco, we thought our confidence was pretty high that we'd be able to flip it and make a profit on the vehicle. You see, going into the Bronco ownership or the Bronco journey with the release of the new generation here, it wasn't absurd to hear stories of $10,000 or $20,000 over MSRP. But now here in April 2023, that time has officially changed. There are very few models, very few dealerships out there that are still trying to do a market adjustment and sell their vehicles for over MSRP. And those are primarily vehicles like the Wildtrak that's in the background there.
Or the Raptor, or the, the Everglades.
The rare models, the ones that are hard to get. You still can't really order every single option that you want in a Bronco. That's still a challenge, but the thing that has drastically changed since this Bronco was released is the fact that there are multiple Ford dealerships that have numerous specs to choose from sitting on their lot, brand new, most of which are selling at MSRP. So ultimately, if you're watching this video and you're in the market to sell your Bronco, when was the time? Well, it was last month, 2 months ago. If you're still trying to recoup all that money that you put into it, that time may have already passed. Ultimately, it's your best bet to find a sucker that isn't familiar with the industry currently, or to sell your vehicle on the used market to a dealership, because the auction prices and the used prices haven't officially caught up with the fact that there's new inventory at dealerships. So the time's now. If you want to sell your vehicle, do it now. Bronco specifically is what we're talking about. Enough with that though, let's just really unpack the ownership experience on the Big Bend.
I haven't put in a whole lot of miles on the Bronco, but the miles I have driven in it, the things that I like most are, in this particular Bronco, the V6. The V6 is a really enjoyable motor to drive. It has all sorts of fun noises that come from that turbo blow-off. It has all sorts of induction noises. The exhaust just kind of sounds like a vacuum, but it is just fun just to kind of push your foot into the throttle a little bit and feel that torque that the turbo V6 puts out. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, the gas mileage is pretty impressive too, knowing that you have over 300 horsepower. I love the fact that you can put 87 octane as well as premium in it. What we experienced is in the summertime and nice weather, when we don't have four-wheel drive on, we don't have our heated seats on, we're not using every accessory in the vehicle like you do in wintertime, we were seeing almost 22 miles per gallon. That's with my wife primarily driving, and she is great for understanding the best MPGs that a vehicle can have, because she drives with an extremely light foot. I can guarantee you that if I was driving the Bronco on a daily basis, there would be a different outcome, but that's essentially as about as good as it gets with the V6, with the non-Sasquatch and with the lower gears in the rear end. When we talk about the Wildtrak in other videos, you'll learn those gas mileage differences. So if that's something you're curious about, make sure you check out a Wildtrak specific video on our channel, and we will cover that in depth. A couple things I didn't like about the Big Bend, now this isn't just Bronco in general, you have to think of the spec we're talking about here, is the seats and being a passenger in here. A lot of that just is the lack of options. So you don't have any lumbar, you don't have any up and down adjustability in that passenger seat. You have some of that in the driver's seat, but I think the seats even feel a little less, I don't know, supportive, a little less luxurious. Again, we're talking about a trim thing. A lot of people aren't going to care knowing what this vehicle's for. Like, it's for being out on the road, it's for getting dirty, it's for taking the top and the doors off and enjoying life in that regard. So the material that is in the Big Bend or the Bronco in general has that in mind. So you have to take away some of the cheapness that is there initially, knowing that if this thing gets dirty, if this thing gets dusty, if it even gets a little wet, you don't necessarily have to concern about that. Reliability wise, on the 2.7 Big Bend two-door in cactus gray that you see in the video here, this one has been flawless. Now, if you want to hear about an issue that we experienced in the $20,000 more expensive neighbor over there, make sure you check out, again, a Wildtrak video, and we uncover that in depth. You're missing a lot of the off-road prowlness with the Big Bend, so we don't have all the metal bumpers and bash plates. But one thing that is interesting is that on the Big Bend, we do have a skid plate under the gas tank, which is interesting. So this doesn't have all the four-wheel drive. It doesn't have all the hero gauge buttons with our electronic locking front and rear differential.
It does have four-wheel drive. It doesn't have four-wheel drive auto.
Yes, thank you for the correction. Which I actually really like that feature that we have in the Wildtrak. We'll unpack that. So the ownership experience here, it really made me appreciate this Bronco and what it has. We had a Wrangler in the past, a Wrangler that had a little lift on it, some bigger tires, so we went for the full experience. And I greatly appreciate the changes that Ford made in this Bronco, taking some of the negatives out of the Wrangler and approaching them off of the assembly line in the Bronco. And for that, I give it 2 thumbs up. I'm glad that we're going to be able to flip this around and not lose any money, but those days are unfortunately gone, or maybe fortunately gone, between high interest rates and the fact that there's no longer a chip shortage or a hard top shortage or all the different shortages that occurred during Ford's release of the Bronco. All those things are pretty much coming to an end in 2023. So I'm going to be sad to see this go. I like the fact of this Big Bend and the trim where it's at. We have it optioned out in such a manner that it has all the comfort features that you'd like. With the $44,000 MSRP on this specific model, a pretty high option Big Bend. We have things like your heated seats and blind spot, those items that you'd really like to appreciate, or you do appreciate if you're daily driving it. But one thing that is also good to note on the Big Bend, because we have some of those videos where we're comparing the undersides and kind of the ins and outs differences of a $20,000 different vehicle, you'll know that the customization does come fairly easy from an accessory standpoint, that if you wanted to take a lot of things that are on, say, a Wildtrak or an upper trim, the mounting points and the bolt-up points are all there ready to go. That wasn't the case early on in production, but I do believe almost all trims have changed that over. One example I could give you is the rear sway bar. This doesn't have a rear sway bar, but it does have the mounting locations. We unpack a lot more of that stuff in our short video where we talk about the Bronco Rodeo, as well as comparing the undersides. Make sure you check out that video.
Now, one of the things about this two-door that I've grown to appreciate that you guys might think you need or you really want is you don't need the Sasquatch package. And you know, you look at it, it looks really really, really cool. It does. But you start looking at some of the negatives of it as well, is if this is just a vehicle you're driving around town, this Bronco is perfect for driving around town. You don't have those big tires that affect your gas mileage. It has an insanely good turning radius. It's super easy to drive. It doesn't feel massive. And you don't have, you know, the locking diffs or the transfer case, but this is still plenty off-road capable the way that it is. It can go over some pretty serious off-road terrain. Now, the one thing to think about though is if you're not getting the Sasquatch package, but you want some big wheels and tires at some point, the Sasquatch package is a $5,000 package. Wheels and tires are going to be very close to $5,000.
Right.
And then you're missing out on the locking differential, the locking transfer cases, and that just isn't going to affect, or it's not going to carry over in resale.
Right.
So if you guys want big wheels and tires, get the Sasquatch package. If you don't want big wheels and tires and you just want a city slicker Bronco, get around town, which is great.
Yes.
This is perfect. It is better than we ever would have thought. And going into this, we weren't a big fan of Broncos. Of course, we've always thought ones with the Sasquatch package, you know, look cool.
Look cool, of course.
But after driving this around, taking it on road trips, it is super enjoyable to drive in this state. It may not look as aggressive, but it's just fun and it's a great vehicle to have.
Yeah.
I really do enjoy it, and we've become great Bronco fans because of it.
Yep.
You know, in a perfect world, we probably would keep both Broncos, but unfortunately, that's just financially not needed. It's not.
Yeah, the need isn't there. And you made some excellent points that people don't think about. People get hung up on the fact that they want to look cool and they don't take the whole picture into mind. But if you think of long-term ownership, like someone that's going to keep a Bronco for more than 6 months like us, and you talk about the tire replacement cost and you talk about the additional wear and tear because of those big tires, which affects things like your ball joints and your brake wearing, and all of your things that you take as general maintenance are going to be more often in something with the Sasquatch or the bigger 35-inch tires.
Yeah, so it may look a heck of a lot cooler, but after driving this one, after experiencing this one, you don't need it. You just don't. It's really, really good the way it is. And if you truly want to go take it off-road, just get some more meaty tires than the ones that come on there and you'll be just fine.
Thank you so much for tuning into the video today. At the end of the day, very happy with the purchase, very happy with the experience of the two-door Big Bend Bronco. It's worth checking out. Don't really have any complaints because nothing went wrong with it. We didn't have any issues. The phone app even worked. The service department was good. There was not a single flaw. There wasn't a glitch to talk about. In our 6 months of ownership, 5,100 miles almost exactly on the odometer. But for now, it is see you later, Big Bend. More to come on the Wildtrak. We'll see you guys in the next video.
See you guys.